Hello and welcome to the Talkies by Karman Line Studios. We are three filmmakers here to talk about movies. My name is Taylor.
And I am Kenny.
And I am D.
Sick. And today we're here to talk about Stalker, Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why did we watch Stalker, Taylor?
We watched it because I picked it today. Today was my pick. We rotate, all three of us, we pick a film each week for the others to see. And I picked Stalker this week because that movie's awesome.
Dude, tell us a little bit of your experience with Andrei.
I've been aware of his films for a long time. I haven't seen every single one yet. I've seen like 3 or 4. And Stalker was the first one I saw. It was the first one that I heard of and made me aware of who he was and what kind of movies he makes. And I remember just being very intrigued by how his filmmaking was described, this very meditative, very slow, lingering shots kind of way of filmmaking sounded very interesting. So this is the second time I've seen Stalker. I saw it once before, and I'm excited to talk about it because I like it a lot. I think it's a good movie.
Well, interesting opinion.
I saw on the YouTube channel Cinematography talk about Andrei compared to Kubrick. He said that they're like on opposite ends of the scale.
Yeah. I know what video you're talking about. I was going to bring that up because that's a really interesting story.
That's a good video.
Yeah. But I kind of disagreed with what he said there. I didn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really feel. I don't feel like Kubrick and Tarkovsky are. Well, I mean, they're not super similar, but I wouldn't go as far as to say they're left brain, right brain.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I felt on that. And that's my opinion on his opinion.
And if I could share an opinion on that opinion,
yeah,
please do.
Wouldn't David Lynch kind of be more of an opposite of
Kubrick?
Kubrick?
Yeah,
I think more so than Tarkovsky, I'd say.
Probably more.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, while the film certainly is cerebral, it felt extremely intentional.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Stalker.
Stalker was.
Oh, yeah.
Stalker had all the fingerprints of a meticulously planned out film.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Like Kubrick, in my mind.
Exactly.
But anyways, hot takes, right?
Yeah, go. Hot takes.
Hot takes.
Okay, I'm hotting it up. My hot take is this instantly shot up to near the top of my all-time favorite movie list. Instantly. I loved this movie so much. And I can't wait to watch more of his films. Yeah. It's like it's a dystopian Wizard of Oz.
That's interesting, dude. I looked up some reviews on this movie, and one of them was a lot of people compare this to The Wizard of Oz.
There's some really striking parallels.
I've never thought about it like that at all.
Yeah, so it's weird that you said that because I had never seen this movie as a Wizard of Oz kind of movie, and yet a lot of the reviews that I looked up said a lot of people compare it to Wizard of Oz. I just never saw the parallels.
Well, the first most obvious parallel is very superficial, which is just the color shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they get into Oz, right? They get into the zone, and all of a sudden now we're
sepia to color.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's very much a story of people trying to get to the wizard to get their brain and get their heart or whatever it is they feel they're missing, you know? Just like in The Wizard of Oz. But in a much darker way, you know?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
That's cool.
As for my hot take, I got a similar vibe as what Kenny did. This instantly became one of my all-time favorite movies.
All right.
Yes.
This is crazy, dude. Andrei Tarkovsky, I've heard his name a lot, thrown around all the film studies and everything. I've never seen any of his movies. A lot of people, including Taylor, have told me to watch Stalker a lot of times. And upon watching it, there was this weird thing that happened where I was just like, wow, this is freaking perfect. And then a half hour into it, I was like, wait a second, is this good? Is this actually good? And then it started going downhill for me, where I'm like, I'm not sure if I like this anymore. And then it got to the end, and I'm like, okay, no, never mind. No, this is genius. This is amazing. This is the best.
Yeah, I thought about you a lot, D, because it's funny, maybe because of the pacing of this film, but I was much more aware of the shots, of every shot in this movie. And there's many movies we've watched where we've sat down to talk about it, and you start talking about shots, and I just don't remember the movie as a visual experience at all. I remember it as like an emotional experience, right?
Interesting, yeah.
But I was so aware of especially the framing of so many shots in this movie. I loved the way he set up so many shots to look like a postcard or like a still art, really. The way it was framed up was so interesting.
Yeah, and he always moves the camera like with such intention.
Yeah.
Where like he'll hang on a static shot for a long time, and then it'll pan over to a completely different, like a 2-for-1 shot basically. But the move feels so calculated and meticulous, and only moving when necessary.
I was surprised by how some of the camera moves seemed so non-intuitive and unpredictable. That's what I really enjoyed. It's like there's so many times where the camera moves somewhere, but you knew it was going to, because it's what you do in this type of scene, right?
Yeah.
But in that first scene of the movie where they have the camera looking down at them in the bed, and it goes from the coffee table all the way across and then back again.
Yeah.
The back again was like, wait, what? And there was another shot where they get into the car before going into the zone. They all hurry into the car and then drive off, and they sort of come around a corner, and the camera, which had been stationary for quite a long time, all of a sudden becomes a very dynamic moving camera, following them very quickly, behind bushes, and then chasing them as they go down the road. And it just caught me off guard. I'm like, I didn't think we were doing that, That's probably part of the reason why I felt so aware of the visual aspect of this film, of the shots themselves and how they're planned out, because it kept me on my toes.
Yeah, he moves in very unconventional ways. He's got his own way of moving the camera. I feel like, even though it's a lot of dolly shots and things like that, but it's the pacing that he has with them, and when he chooses to do it, and what he chooses to have the camera focus on. Like, there are times where he'll literally pan down to the ground and just float over the ground for a while, showing off what the zone has consumed over the years.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
The shots technically were really surprising to me because of how smooth every movement was. And I saw that this movie came out in 1979. It was just like, how do you get like these robotic shots?
Yeah, in 1979.
It looks so still. It's crazy to me, and it's one of those things that that was really cool, because I remember going to film school and learning all these things like the jibs and the dollies and all that, and looking at what it did with the camera, and I'm just like, oh wow, that's really cool. How come I don't see that kind of stuff in movies all the time, where they focus just on the movement of the camera? And it's because not a lot of directors do that. That's why I think I was so drawn to Denis. It's because he does that with his cameras. But what's his name? But Tarkovsky does that a lot in here. It just sits on shots for a long time. And I really, really like that.
There were a few times where I really wished I could step past the fourth wall and see how they were operating the camera. Like, I really wanted to see the rig and how many people were walking, and
Yeah.
what kind of track or arm they were, because I was like, that move felt really difficult or impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
I really
the opening
love
shot
in the
going through the door.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that was crazy.
Yeah.
In the tunnel where
Mm-hmm.
they kept backing up through all the layers of water.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. That was really cool.
This movie's translation, what I felt like was not very good.
I don't know.
I don't know Russian.
Felt fine to me.
It like the stuff they said, I was like, oh, this all makes sense, but I have to like really think about what they're saying to try to get anything from it. Like some of the times it was like really clear, sometimes it wasn't so clear. So like,
Well,
for example,
they were being like really philosophical.
well, that too, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
was
like
gonna say.
philosophical mixed with
Yeah.
like translating Russian. So yeah, it was really.
And they're like
strange.
mixing poetry in there every now
Yeah,
and then.
it's probably a
Right.
hard movie to translate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so that did get in the way a little bit for me. The thing that brought me like really made me go, wow, this is incredible, was the part at the end. So there's obvious parallels that Annihilation makes to this movie, right?
Yeah.
But in the end of Annihilation, where the whole metaphor is kind of about, self-destruction and all that, I really liked how this one was so simple. And they talked about Porcupine, how he hanged himself, and that the one dude, the writer, said that the dude hanged himself because his inner desire came true and it wasn't what he wanted.
Yeah. Isn't that
Was
crazy?
insane to me.
Yeah, that stuck out to me this viewing also, because it was like he says that what your true inner desire is, you're probably like lying to yourself that it's
Right.
not really that, but the room sees right through that and will give you
Yeah.
what you want, and he realized that and killed himself.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah, right upon finishing the movie, I instantly wanted to watch it again. I want to watch this as many times as possible just to go through the layers and try to figure out what everything was.
It's a deep movie.
It really is. And one, I wanted to say the star of this movie, but there's too many stars to really single out one. But I'd say these real star of the movie are these locations
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
that made for such an organic sense of just like destruction. you
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
like of something that once was, like just a sense of just decay and
Like the
age
tanks.
and waste. And but what really added to that was the knowledge. Like I know that the filmmakers didn't spend a ton of money to build fake tanks and age them and place them in a field. This is that they're using actual places of decay.
Well, actually,
You're going to tell me they did do
they
that.
did that. They brought in those tanks and aged them.
But
and placed
most of
them.
this was a wasted city that had been occupied many times.
Yeah, a lot of it was real. Yeah, and then
Okay.
some stuff was placed.
So I take it back on the tanks, but but it was still, they were still shooting in an actual despot.
Yes.
This was a place that was once habitable and turned inhabitable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had from what I understand, that like the crew who was shooting was like in really really shit times trying to produce the movie because it was really hard to set up a bunch of the places.
It looked hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had his crew, like some of those shots you're talking about, like they were working in a very uncomfortable conditions for hours on end, and yeah, that video, Cinema Tyler's video, goes over its troubled production that this had. They had to restart the entire film twice.
Because they shot on the wrong stock.
They shot on the wrong film stock, and it got like destroyed. They shot like a third of the film without looking at any of it, and then when they got it back, it was all wrong, and he had to scrap all of it.
Jeez.
Yeah, and then they started again with a new cinematographer, and he hated how it was turning out. and started over again.
Jeez. That's a level of dedication.
That's an auteur for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You know, when Kenny, so you were talking about before when we talked about Blue Velvet, I think you had mentioned my taste in movies of them being more realistic.
Yeah.
You know, about how I like things about that are real. I think what it is, and it's interesting because I don't know if this movie actually fits into that specific definition of taste that I think I might have, but I think it's because the characters that I follow have to be a part of, or they have to be viewing the world the same way I view it. So when I'm looking at a world, say like Mother, for example, that's like a really surreal movie. If I can connect with the main character because she is completely divided, right? She sees everything the same way the audience should be seeing it until the end, where she becomes like, you know, like a icon or whatever. But that kind of stuff is really interesting. That kind of surreal take is really interesting, which is why I really like movies like Climax, you know, where people are all just treated like characters that things are happening to.
Yeah.
And so in this movie, the same thing is happening, where we have like still crazy characters, but the characters are all kind of normal people in a extra normal, you know, situation. And I really, really dug that tone. Even at the end when they got like really philosophical and they started like talking about things that seemed like it was a little more connected to the script and story than, you know, what most people in the situation would talk about.
Yeah.
It was still interesting because you know, he's a writer and the other guy is a scientist, you know, physicist. So it's just really interesting to have that kind of perspective, and I really, really dug that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think one of my favorite parts on second watch is the shot where they're just outside of the room and it's the three of them sitting there, and like that's a long shot. And
that's a 4-minute shot.
Damn, they're just sitting there like, and it rains and stops raining
and
all
stops.
within the shot.
Yeah. That was awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah. They're just like just stripped to their like philosophical core at that
basically
moment.
Yeah.
See, it's interesting in a movie where you're going to do that, where you're going to strip people down to their philosophical core. It's so interesting to pit a writer against a scientist.
Yeah.
Because it's just completely symbolic of the two sides of the human mind.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
Which worked really well. I think we have to spend some time talking about the sound design in this.
So I felt like the sound design was bad at first, and it just sounded bad. Like there was a do you guys remember the scene where the car comes through and they hide from the first?
Are you talking about when
person?
the car comes to a screeching stop?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like
it
like barely stops, and then it's like skrrr.
Yeah. So like that, on top of that, there was the water splashes every time that they stepped in water or rolled over water. It sounded like someone was, you know, messing with water inside of a bowl instead of like big splashes, you know. And it's consistent throughout the entire film, so it makes me think, okay, it's probably on purpose. They probably meant to do this for a reason, but I'm not sure what that reason is, and it feels strange.
Some of the sound is pretty like choppy. I'm not sure how or why that ended up being the case, and to where like I feel like some sound effects they don't end naturally. They just like I can hear when the clip stops.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the deal is with that.
It all felt intentional to me.
Yeah.
It just further, for me, it further reinforced that sort of dream-like feel of the whole movie.
Yeah.
You know, even before they go into the zone, this world is kind of weird.
Yeah,
right.
It's
I mean, it's.
I think him and Lynch have that in common, and
Yeah.
that they make their own worlds.
Yes, very much.
It didn't seem weird to me. The normal world.
It did to me. I mean, first of all, it was drenched in sulfur yellow. And
it felt like I don't know. It felt like Chernobyl esque Russia. It just felt like a town that was aware that there was authority above them. You know, that's all it felt like to me.
well, to me, the sound kind of reinforced that feeling that, you know, that something was off, and that could be living under a Big Brother rule. It also could be living in the state of some kind of lingering sickness. You know, that's what I sort of more invoked for me. Like there was a lingering destructive sickness in this place, and so the weird sound added to that, like a dis-ease.
I got a deep feeling of nihilism.
Well, it's a Russian movie.
The,
But in the zone specifically, like when they're walking in the tunnel and the sounds of kind of like breaking glass under their feet, almost, that would kind of like twinge and ping as if they were like had springs in them.
Yeah, that was like a reoccurring sound in the zone.
Yeah.
That like was a
Yeah,
sound to
I
let
like
you know
that.
you're in the zone almost.
Yeah, that was cool.
I love
was
that sound.
Really cool.
Yeah, that's a really crazy thing. Like it's like a spaghetti western kind of sound almost, something you'd hear in there.
Yeah. And the
Hey,
ways they pulled in ambience, they had like the ambience of the rushing water sort of dovetail over other parts where there is no rushing water, and bringing it back in a recurring way. Same with the train sound.
yeah, the trains, they did that a lot too.
They had big ass trains in this movie.
Yes,
Yeah, they
yes,
did.
they did.
Choreographed.
Dude, choreographed trains. Dude, that freaking I keep calling everything an opening shot. The shot where we introduce the writer, just before that, when the Stalker's walking through the train yard.
Yeah.
That was so crazy because that was very Blade Runner.
Yeah, the way he walks out of the
I was floored
atmosphere.
by how gorgeous that shot looked and the movement. Jeez.
Yeah.
There was like a pirate ship behind them.
Was there?
Yeah. Yeah. That was cool. How about one of the coolest endings I've ever seen to a movie?
I don't remember the ending.
The daughter has like telekinesis.
Right. Yeah. What the? What was that? That was awesome.
I freaking loved that.
That still throws me
Yeah.
through a loop. I still don't know what to make of that, to be honest. I don't know what that is.
She's a zone mutant from what they
yeah.
say, right?
well,
So-
except
so wait.
yeah, go on.
I need to. So Stalker is a stalker a person who spent a whole lot of time in the zone, or is just someone who was born inside the zone, or what's the relatability?
A stalker is somebody who leads somebody into the zone, and so they know the zone very well and have spent a lot of time in the zone, but I don't think they've like lived in the zone.
Okay, so
He probably got mutated. He
he-
probably got bad genes or something from being in there.
yeah, so I was gonna say, did he like somehow get mutated somehow and then pass those genes on to his daughter?
That's what I would guess.
I inferred two possibilities. So one is that's the mutation that came from his time in the zone. Because you remember the guy said, oh, she's a mutant, she has no legs. Mm-hmm. But
Right.
then they showed she does have legs, she just uses crutches.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, maybe they're trying to hide the fact that she has some ability.
Maybe. I was thinking when they said she has no legs, and then I saw her legs, I was like, oh, what they meant was that she can't use them.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah,
never
I
see her use
I
them.
was thinking maybe that was the translation. That was weird. I don't know.
The other thing is that there's a time jump, you know, that happens at the end there where they're all in that room with the bomb having that last debate,
Right.
and then we time
And then they
jump
just-
and we're out of the zone.
They're just back in the bar, like nothing
And
happened.
so we don't know if they're just like, okay, we turn around and go home right now, or did
Right.
they go to the room? You know? And one thing I thought was maybe the stalker finally went into the room.
and he got his wish, which was telekinesis for
and
his daughter.
the desire of his heart was to make his daughter special or something like that, you know? And now she's special.
Maybe. I think I think he talks about how nobody wanted to go, like when he was like breaking down on the floor to his wife afterwards. He was like, what did he say? He said,
Yeah.
he said he felt like his purpose in life was never being met because nobody wanted to go into the room. He thought he could get some purpose by leading people to their truest desires at the very least, and he was unable to do that even when he got there. That those two people he brought with him didn't even do it in the end. I guess that could have been him still going in, maybe, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I like the idea that, well, I don't know. What were you going to say, Kenny?
Well, I was just going to say I feel pretty safe in guessing that this is one of those movies where the filmmaker is comfortable leaving interpretation up to the viewer.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
You should see some of Tarkovsky's quotes, dude.
I was going to say.
He's hardcore.
Yeah. He was, I saw some quote. I don't remember the quote, but I remember I saw him talking about something or heard him talk about something, and he was saying that how movies are forms of expression, and he says that if he, I don't know if it was Cinema Tyler's video where he said that if Andrei Tarkovsky started doing a shot in a movie that looked too much like another shot in a different movie, he'd stop.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, no, got to do it different.
Yeah.
What do you mean he was hardcore, Taylor?
He was very. He said in one quote, he said like he thought that trying to explain your film to an audience using the film itself was a senseless and thankless task, and that you shouldn't even bother trying to feed exposition or explain yourself to the audience in the film.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, like if you're trying to explain something that, like you're literally trying to translate, cinema into words, and that doesn't really work.
And that's how he would focus on location so heavily and creating atmosphere and creating a place that felt very real and allow audience members to infer what they will within that world.
Well, he does that well. I think if I ever had to put together like a film student, a film school course, and give a perfect example of atmosphere. There is. Definitely. I can't think of any film. That has a more palpable atmosphere.
Definitely.
Yeah,
dude. When I was watching this, obviously thinking about Annihilation, I was thinking about how much worse Annihilation is from this movie.
That's how I felt when I watched Annihilation, dude. I was thinking about this movie.
Well,
like Annihilation blew my mind.
Inspired by has to be.
Well, the dude Alex Garland's he had tweeted a picture of Stalker, saying it wasn't him. It wasn't Alex. It was the cinematographer. Tweeted the picture of Stalker saying, "This is our only research for Annihilation." And like I appreciate it. I like what Annihilation did, and I like that it was something different. It wasn't biting off the same thing.
Yeah.
But,
it's a fan film.
You can see it.
Yeah, it feels that way. And I remember when we talked about Annihilation, like I talked about how Annihilation felt like it was modern filmmaking, where it felt like it was different than other movies. And when I watch Stalker, it's so different from any other 80s movie. It feels so unique to itself, and I don't know if it's just because of the shot choices or because of the textures used or whatever, or just everything together, but the thing that makes it different from Annihilation is the tone, and that's why I want to compare Tarkovsky to Denis or Denis to Tarkovsky, is because Denis puts such heavy emphasis on this thick atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, actually, Taylor, this movie kind of reminded me of Inside.
The game.
Oh,
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, just that thick atmosphere was not in Annihilation and was definitely in this movie. Do
you think there's a correlation between creating a very palpable atmosphere and using long shots? Long time-wise. Time-wise long.
Yeah, because like imagine like the same Like, I'm sure, dude. I'm sure if all three of us talked about this, we could write like a paper on this. But like, if you look at a painting, it's like the longer time you look at the painting, the more time you have to absorb the colors and the textures and the light. And when a film is doing that to you, it's constantly changing. So you're challenging your brain to reevaluate the picture every frame. And so if you make that frame, filled with a space that's trying to, landscape it out into like a much bigger space than the screen can hold, then you're going to build that kind of atmosphere in your head. If you know what I mean, if you fit a shot, into a 35 millimeter lens or whatever, and you can only see a certain kind of view, certain point of view or a field of view, then if you move that shot in 360 degrees, you can suddenly see the entire 360 degrees, but it's never in one shot. You have to put it together through time. So I feel like, that's what Tarkovsky's doing with his movies. He's building it through time.
Yeah, that's his that famous book, Sculpting in Time. He would liken filmmaking to making a sculpture, but with time, where you're just carving out chunks of time to create a piece.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's interesting about all these long shots and the slow pacing is, when I'm thinking back on it, like, there are cuts that I remember happening, but the editing doesn't even come to mind. Like, it's the edits are like invisible in my recollection.
That's the best.
Yeah. Same here. In fact, when the transition occurred from the sepia to color the first time, I realized that I had been watching full color for several seconds before I went, whoa, what? What happened? It's like I didn't see the cut.
Yeah.
And so like I actually turned the movie back a couple minutes to watch that transition again, because so many filmmakers, when they do something, do that. They emphasize it, like a smash cut. They might even put a sound transition.
Yeah, Wizard of Oz did that.
Yeah, and this it really caught me off guard instead of surprised. Like, it wasn't like a shock. It was like, whoa, I missed that. What the heck?
That's neat.
That is great.
Yeah. And, as slowly paced as the film was, and as long as the shots were, I didn't feel like it was challenging.
Yeah.
The way some slow movies can be.
Yeah. And definitely not boring.
Yeah.
It wasn't boring. Yeah.
I was kind of looking forward to this infamous train shot that is, supposedly so long.
It's like 5
right?
minutes.
Because you've talked about it before.
Yeah, I've mentioned it a bunch.
Wait, what shot?
And when it happened, I was like, that was it?
What shot are you talking about?
It's a sequence right before they go into the zone when they're riding the hand cart.
Oh, the little rail car shot?
Yeah, and it's
from his head.
Yeah. And it's very, very long.
Yeah, that is long.
But it just felt like I was supposed to be sitting there.
It felt right.
Yeah, it felt totally
it felt right.
I felt that way. I remember the first time I watched that, it felt like eternity. But this time, I had the same experience you did, Kenny, where I was like, wow, that was not nearly as like long as I felt, as I had remembered it to be. Even though it is long, though. It's like 5 minutes where they're not doing anything.
I was just waiting for a gunshot or for something to happen. I was on edge from what they just escaped from.
Yeah.
So like it just felt like that quiet tenseness that you would sit in if you had just escaped something like that.
Yeah, and like the downtime, and like right as you're going into this mysterious zone too, the build up into it. Like, it's perfect.
I did really like I like the shot. It wasn't, to me, it felt long, but it didn't feel boring. I don't know. I was trying to figure out why it was there, so maybe that's where my mind was occupied.
It's the interlude into the zone.
Yeah.
The room that has the like mini sand dunes in it.
Yeah.
That the hawk flies through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's one of the coolest sets I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it kind of got to me because every time that I've heard this movie name or saw it on YouTube or saw it on the web somewhere, that shot is always there. And so it's just like that's the only thing I know about Stalker.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to I wanted to
Why
know
is it
much
so
more
important?
about the movie. Yeah, and so when they got to that room, I thought that was the room, and it turns out it wasn't. It was just a room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just became an
And I was like,
iconic like imagery for the film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it made me like the culture around the movie made me not like that shot so
That's
much.
funny.
that's funny. Well, I had never seen it.
Yeah.
In fact, I hadn't seen anything from this movie before.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Which was cool.
That is cool.
But yeah, that sort of just unspoiled, perfect little sand hills filling a room with like those tall marble pillars on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way he
That was
throws the
quite
nut in
iconic,
and
yeah.
it bounces
Yeah.
off and all that.
Dude, okay, that shot. Okay, talking about the sound design, that shot where he was, where the writer was inside that sand dune room and then tossed a rock down the well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was crazy. Yeah, because I was like listening for the sound.
Yeah.
and it didn't hit till like
Yeah. That's
like,
like
way
a
later.
5,000-foot drop.
Yeah. At a point I forgot whether or not it made a sound. It's the first time I saw it, so I was like waiting, and I was like, maybe it's just a weird zone thing, and it doesn't even have a sound, like it's infinite. And then like
Right.
10 seconds later, it hits. And I was like, geez, that is long. That is a long fucking well.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't make a sound, but then when it did, like you said, after 10 seconds, I was like, oh, that's neat. That makes me think they definitely did that on purpose.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I was sure it was a setup for something, right?
Yeah.
Like establishing that this well is crazy deep.
He's gonna fall in
Okay,
or something.
maybe he's gonna fall down that and die or commit suicide or something, right?
Yeah,
But no.
it's not about that.
I'm glad.
It's not about
I'm glad
that.
it wasn't that. Yeah.
It's about building. That's something this movie does, and I think it's it's in other Tarkovsky movies also. Is his well, I mean, he's just such a unique filmmaker that he doesn't give in to anything that like a screenwriting professor would teach you, and like
Yeah,
he
right.
like plays his own rules, and he like
Yeah,
you know
that's
like
what makes him feel Lynchian.
yeah, and like there's even like you know like the gun that the writer has, he brings it out, and you know that's the classic rule: if you show a gun, you got to show it going off at some point in the film, but it comes out
Yeah.
once and it goes away in the
Never
zone.
comes back.
Yeah, and that's it. You know.
I love that. It's weird because when I hear what you guys are talking about in the movie, what you're gushing about feels like the kind of stuff that I don't like in other movies, but I like it in this one, and I trying to figure out why.
Is it
that
the cinematography?
Well, that's definitely a part of it. That's definitely a part of it because I can't. I don't know any other movie that I hate that has gorgeous cinematography.
I'm going back to the conversation we had around Blue Velvet and in what I described as realism.
Yeah.
With you, D, because in this film, again, like it is super Lynchy, right? Where he has his own world and own rules and all kinds of uncanny stuff
Super
is
Lynchy.
going on. It's super Lynchy. But his this overbearing sense of atmosphere
Yeah.
makes it in this area that I would call super real. Like it just it feels real, like you're there. Not necessarily that it makes sense, but like you are there. And
Right.
and that is something I've seen consistent in the movies you really like.
Well, I go back to what was the movie? The man who killed Don Quixote.
Yeah.
I go back to that movie because that movie, in the beginning, felt like I was right there with Adam Driver the whole time, and it felt pretty close until it started getting off the rails and very surrealistic. Then I started feeling like it was being taken away from me. Like he started becoming something that I had not known, you know. And so it's like again with Mother by Aronofsky, where what's the girl's name? Jennifer?
The mother, or what was her name? Mother? Didn't she not have a name in that
You mean
movie?
the actress?
The actress.
Oh, Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Lawrence, that's her name. Okay, yeah. So Jennifer Lawrence's character in that movie, even when it got really weird and surreal, she just got more frightened and more disconnected. And I was just like, yes, thank you. That's
You're
what
like,
I am.
me too.
That's what I am right now. Yeah, exactly. So I really feel like that's the connection here. What you would call the realism parts. I mean, obviously cinematography is a weak spot of mine. Like I love that kind of stuff, and this movie has gorgeous cinematography for that very reason. But also the writer and the scientist are so specific with their characters. Like they do not move an inch from who they are at the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
I don't mean like they don't grow, because
they're never
they
inconsistent
also,
with how they're written.
Exactly. They're never inconsistent. Yeah, so it makes me feel like I have an anchor,
And they all are kind of like freaking out a little bit about what weird stuff is going on.
All of them are. And even the Stalker
yeah.
is. Yeah. So
it surprised me how frightened the Stalker seemed once they got into that tunnel.
Yeah.
Like he's like cowering behind the scientist the whole
I thought
time.
it was funny how he went in and then he shut the door behind him.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you say that. Actually, the whole fear thing. That's got to be the reason. Like, I imagine if this whole movie was the exact same way, except they didn't have the fear.
Yeah. Like that, maybe the Stalker was like completely confident, like Indiana Jones or something the whole way through.
Right. Or say all of them were that way, then I would have hated the movie.
So Dee and I especially have spoken about this a lot, and that is the idea of how to properly do cosmic horror with film.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I totally lump this movie in with cosmic horror.
Absolutely.
And the conclusion, well, it's not a conclusion, but the theory we keep coming back to is that in order to do cosmic horror right with film is probably to just not show the thing, whatever the thing is. The cosmically horrifying thing probably can't be shown.
Yeah.
Because the whole point is that it's something that's so far outside of human understanding that it renders you horrified.
Yeah.
And so most attempts, if not all attempts to do that visually have come short, right? Or if they're adapting some piece of cosmic horror, it ends up becoming just horror, right? The cosmic, like with Stephen King's It is a good example of that. Movie. And so here was a film that did just that. They just didn't show. We never saw The Room.
Yeah.
Or even any of the extreme things that they claimed The Zone did.
Yeah.
It was just alluded to that the tunnel's a meat grinder, right?
Yeah. The weirdest thing you see is a bird teleport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, in the absence of that, this could have almost been a movie where someone is playing tricks on two other people.
Yeah.
It could have been a different movie entirely where The Zone isn't supernatural at all.
Yeah. Yet like what's cool is they don't show any of that. Mm-hmm. They only allude to it through performance and then just the atmosphere and the location itself and how they move through the location. Like they sell you. Like I felt like it's a dangerous place. I felt like at any turn something horrific can happen where one of them will just get snatched out of reality or something, or this dog is going to grow two heads or something. And and nothing like that ever really happens, but it's this looming threat, and something about like how they keep talking about how like the zone is letting them through, and like the Stalker keeps being surprised almost. He's like, wow, the zone is letting us through. Something about this idea of the zone seeing them and then saying, yeah, you guys can come through is kind of scary too, because this abstract cosmic horror place is deciding your fate. And at the end too, I like how the zone also literally disarms them by literally taking the gun. It gets them. The writer drops the gun, and it is consumed by the zone. It goes into the water, and then the scientist decides not to blow up the room, and it is consumed by the zone when he throws it into the water. So I like to think that the zone is like influencing them in ways that they don't even realize by, disarming them, making them non-threats.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have you've shaped a theory in my head now about cosmic horror. That not only do we not show the thing, but it's like the thing that filmmakers always try to battle against is this idea of what is it called? Suspension of disbelief, right? Where the audience agrees with the filmmaker. Yeah, what you're showing me is the way you want to show it. So, for example, Mother is like crazy. Everyone's freaking out. Yeah, I got to freak out too. And in that case, it kind of worked. Climax, it kind of worked. But when you show, say, like an aged horror movie, like Dracula, for example, when people are screaming when they look upon Dracula's face, you as an audience member, at least in 2021, you're looking at it and going, well, that's just a dude in makeup. Why are you screaming? Or you're watching Cloverfield and you're like, well, that's a CG monster. Why are you screaming? Like, you're not there completely in the same mindset. So if instead of showing the thing, you just talk about it and people get really scared of the thought of it and just the concept of it, then you can be in that same mindset without having to suspend any disbelief, because you're just being told things, and being shown the expression and the emotion of the people, as opposed to the actual thing or the actual monster or the actual danger.
Yeah. I think it does a disservice to cosmic horror to try to show.
Yeah.
And filmmakers are taught show don't tell. Right?
Right. Right.
And I don't
show don't tell.
There's like a tantalizing idea of this idea of like showing cosmic horror and showing it right. Like, I think that's what like Annihilation was going for.
It's
like,
a challenge that I think everyone wants to pull off.
Yeah, but it honestly, it might just be completely
impossible.
Completely impossible.
I think the way show don't tell is translated, I think, is wrong. The way you think about it.
He didn't show. I mean, he didn't tell in this. He still showed. He did. He just showed something else.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like when people talk about dialogue and characters, or dialogue for characters, they talk about also the show don't tell rule. But it's not about, you can't show speech because it's not visual, but you can show things that people talk about. So, for example, if you're trying to give a characteristic of somebody, say like this person, like Jules in Pulp Fiction, this guy just thinks about random shit. You're gonna show him talking about random shit. You're not gonna say, hey, I'm a guy who thinks about random stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
precisely. The same rule goes with visuals and with concepts. You don't need to always take it literally and show don't tell. You need to show as in, if you're showing the concept, show the concept.
Yeah.
Not visualize it.
Yeah.
It's not visualize, don't tell.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, it
not
seems like
illustrations.
Andrei here is like a true artist, and probably didn't spend a lot of time even debating such a thing, but I think at a certain level it kind of takes some bravery to not try to show the monster.
Sure.
Yeah.
In terms of what people expect.
Yeah, I like that the room was simply a room, and that we never really got to see inside of it. I mean, we did, where the camera was inside the room at one point, but I like that the room was basically covered up and not really anything other than it was just a place that they're not going to go inside of. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that just goes in like not showing all that stuff, like not showing a monster, not showing all that, just further goes to show of how much like a true artist Tarkovsky is, and how hardcore he is with that, to where this movie feels like a movie you'd go to a museum to watch.
Yeah.
You know, like it almost doesn't even make sense to watch it in a movie theater. You know?
I love treating movie theaters as museums.
Yes.
That's what I.
Yeah.
I love or I should say, I love the theaters that take themselves that seriously.
Yeah.
You know, like the Tower and many of the art house theaters out there.
Yes.
Precisely. When I told my wife about this movie, I said it reminds me of Dostoevsky mixed with sci-fi. I thought that was pretty funny.
I'm not sure what that refers to.
Dostoevsky wrote The Brothers Karamazov and Crime and Punishment.
We've talked about that. Yeah.
No, wait. Is Crime and Punishment Tolstoy? I don't know. No, Dostoevsky.
It's all Russian.
I don't know
to me.
shit about books.
Anyway, it's a high concept. We're movie smart.
I only know about cinema.
So you ever had a Russian pizza?
Is that a pizza for the people? By the people?
I have a
people's pizza.
I have a quote I wanted to read.
What?
I have a Tarkovsky quote that I wanted to read on the Talkies here.
Do it.
Let me.
Read it.
I had it.
Well, you don't have it ready?
I did, but now it's not.
Kenny has an Outrun shirt on, and I love it.
Oh damn! Look at that. That is pretty sick. No way.
Yes.
No way.
No way.
Yes.
Some way.
Way.
Okay, he goes, to make a film, you need money. To write a poem, all you need is pen and paper. This puts cinema at a disadvantage, but I think cinema is invincible, and I bow down to all the directors who try to realize their own films despite everything.
Oh, that inspires me.
Yeah.
That inspires me.
I love it.
I was like, oh.
So true. We're the disadvantaged.
Yeah, I feel oppressed. Filmmakers are oppressed.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Wait till digital cinema takes over.
Yep. Oh, yeah, then it'll be filmmaking for the masses.
When digital cinema takes over in 2005?
No. I didn't mean I mean digital is in like the entire production digitally.
Oh, gotcha. Like CGI movies.
You don't leave your house.
Right.
Right.
Like you have anotis world, but it's inside your computer.
Well, then his quote
and then
makes no
movies
sense.
will be made by algorithms.
Yeah, then his movies make no sense, or his quote makes no sense.
Then you just need a computer.
Anyone can make a movie, and it's free.
Yep.
Just pirate the software. You're good to go.
There you go.
Myself.
All right, so I'll go first with the pizza.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, if this movie was a pizza, what kind of pizza would it be?
You're asking yourself?
Yeah. For the sake of the...
Why is a raven like a writing desk? He's
for the sake of the audience.
He's gone insane.
I'm trying to tell, don't show.
Oh, okay.
What? This is a podcast, dude.
We do not do pizza ratings for the sake of the audience. I'm just saying that now.
What do we do them for? We don't do them for us.
I hate doing pizza ratings.
It's out of obligation to our sponsor.
Yeah, for our brand.
Our sponsor, Pizza Hut.
Our sponsor is Pizza Hut.
Which Pizza Hut pizza is Stalker?
I don't know what kind of pizza this is, honestly. This is like discovering a new kind of pizza. It's like you go to order pizza from this place that is called like Rick's Sandwiches and Pizza.
Oh.
and you're like, oh, they have good pizza there, and everyone else has been telling you, like pizza connoisseurs have been telling you, dude, that place has amazing pizza. You're like, whatever, right? And so you've always seen the screenshots of it, of the pizza, and you go to finally order from there, and you're just like, okay, I'll just take, the pepperoni, whatever, and you eat it. And after you're finished eating the pizza, then you realize you haven't eaten it at all, and it's still there.
Whoa!
Holy shit!
That's a cosmic horror pizza.
Shit!
And you go insane.
And you go insane. All right, you hang yourself.
And you hang yourself.
My pizza rating is that a friend of a friend of a friend tells you that there is this wise man up in the Himalayas who knows of the greatest pizza on earth. So, but if you want to get it, you gotta go see him, and you gotta do what he says. So you get a Sherpa, and he leads you up the mountain, and then you find this guy like meditating on a rock. You know, he's got his legs crossed and his eyes shut, and a beard down to his feet. And you're like, "How do I get the greatest pizza?" And he said, "You must come back here in a month, but during that month, you must not eat any other pizza. You just have to pizza fast." And so after waiting, going full pizza abstinence for a month and climbing a mountain 2 times, he hands you a pizza and you eat it. And sure enough, it is the world's greatest pizza. And you're like,
it's only because you've been starved.
And you're like, it's worth it. No, it's worth the long wait and sacrifice. That's my point. It was worth it. It didn't matter that you had to wait a month or that you had to not eat pizza. It didn't matter that the shots were 5 minutes long. Okay.
Wait, shots? I thought you were talking about pizza. What the hell?
Pizza is a series of shots.
What? Damn.
The shots
Eat, don't tell.
Comprise a sequence. The sequence comprise a scene. And the scenes comprise a pizza.
1 pizza pie, please.
Go ahead.
Stalker? It's just a cheese pizza.
Nice. Delicious.
No. Really, though? This is what it is.
Okay, here we go.
So you know how Blaze Pizza exists?
Yes.
It does.
And you know how
I do know how that exists.
Good. I'm glad that you know that exists. And so you know how Blaze Pizza is, not only does it exist, but it exists in multiple places. It's a chain.
Yes.
It's a chain spot.
Man. I see where you're going.
So Stalker is say there's a pizza place and they're copying Blaze's formula of, you know, you pick and build your own pizza, all that stuff, and it's made right then and there. But it's not a chain, it's a local place. And it's the only one in existence. And all the ingredients are 2 notches higher in quality than
2
Blaze.
notches?
Yes, 2 notches. Not just 1, 2.
Wow.
Oh my
2
God.
whole notches.
How big is a notch?
60 inches.
And I'm assuming, because this is Tarkovsky, they don't let you choose what goes on your pizza.
No, they do have a build your own option.
They just make it. They look at your face and they're like, here's what you want.
and Stalker.
Hey. We have less than a minute.
Well, I got a minute to do it.
No, less than a minute.
Wrap it up. We're done anyway.
Pepperoni pizza, cheese, blue cheese. There's some blue cheese on there. It's fresh, hella fresh. Cheese melts in your mouth.
Cool. You've been listening to the Talkies. We put out new shows every single Friday, and next week we'll be back with an all-new movie. Find us on Spotify and every other place they have podcasts, and on YouTube. Thanks, and we love you.
Wow, you did it.
Damn, that's brilliant.
That's crazy. This is gonna end.
There we go.